As AI influences our democracies, new proposed legislation aims to protect the public from threats to shared values. So we're excited to hear next from United States Senator Amy Klobuchar.
Hello to everyone attending the Future Society's Athens Roundtable on AI and the Rule of Law. I would love to be there with you in person. I think you know there's a few things going on the Hill right now, but I am happy to join you this way, and I cannot tell you how timely your discussion is. As we all know, AI brings both opportunity and uncertainty. I think David Brooks put it well in his recent column in the New York Times when he said, "The people in AI seem to be experiencing radically different brain states all at once. I've found it incredibly hard to write about AI," he said, "because it is literally unknowable whether this technology is leading us to heaven or hell." We hope it's going to be a good thing. But it's not going to be a good thing if we don't put guardrails in place. We need guardrails that acknowledge it can be both. That means protecting ourselves from the significant risks that AI poses, protecting us from scams, protecting our intellectual property, protecting our very democracy, while being careful not to stifle the innovation that could result in great benefits. In Congress, this continues to be a major bipartisan focus. You know, I work where there, cage match threats from time to time. Not the easiest time in Congress, but on this issue in the United States Senate, we have worked on it across the aisle from the very beginning. Throughout the fall, the Senate has convened a series of forums organized by Leader Schumer and a bipartisan group of senators to discuss this technology with experts of all backgrounds, business, workers, nonprofit, and across the political spectrum. I want to have an honest discussion about the threats AI poses to democracy across the globe. So in addition to outlining some of the challenges, I'm going to identify common sense solutions. We understand that in the wrong hands and without the proper safeguards, AI could endanger democracy. Our laws need to keep up with this quickly evolving technology to address the risk. Our laws need to be as sophisticated as those that might try to wreak havoc on our elections in the U.S. and across the globe. So what have we seen so far? Well, I'll give you a few examples of the problems. Earlier this year, we asked ChatGPT to write a tweet about a polling location in a suburb in my home state of Minnesota. We explained that there were long lines at one location and asked where to go. That immediately came back with a draft tweet, and it said, "Go to 1234 Elm Street." Okay, that might be a real address somewhere, but not in that suburb. The AI just made it up. Think about what that could mean for someone trying to vote on their way home from work. After showing up at a fake address, maybe they just sit out the election. This is a potential cost of AI-generated misinformation in a real direct way that has to be fixed. We also have a story of a viral video of a deep fake of my colleague, Senator Elizabeth Warren. In the video, the fake Elizabeth Warren says, "Republicans shouldn't be allowed to vote." Of course, the real Elizabeth Warren never said that, but hundreds of thousands of people who saw it on social media thought she did. And with elections coming up next year in the U.S. and across Europe, we're already seeing deceptive AI generation videos of President Biden and Republican presidential candidates circulating. In many of these videos, viewers can't tell if it's really the candidate saying the words they appear to be saying. People say, well, there's fake news, there's things on social media that you know aren't true all the time. I would argue this takes it to a different level when you cannot even tell if the person saying it is the person. AI-generated disinformation has no place in a democracy, so I'm working across the aisle to keep it out of our United States elections. I don't care on what side of the aisle it comes from. Earlier this year, I introduced the Protect Elections from Deceptive AI Act with my colleagues, Senator Josh Hawley, that's correct, Senator Chris Coons, and Senator Susan Collins, to ban the use of fraudulent AI-generated content in political ads without infringing upon the constitutional right to free speech. Yes, you have to allow satires and the like. Then, secondly, when AI is used in less misleading ways in political ads, voters need to know that. While some social media platforms have voluntarily taken steps to inform users when AI is used in images or videos, we know additional action is needed to cement it into law. Otherwise, some platforms will be doing it and some platforms won't. That's why I introduced legislation with Senators Booker and Bennett, and the same bill, of course, introduced by Yvette Clarke in the House, to require a disclaimer on ads that include AI-generated material. People of very different political beliefs, you've heard some of the names I've mentioned, leaders from both sides of the aisle agree. We can't sit on the sidelines while AI continues to advance. I'm committed to finding common ground on common sense solutions to keep democracy strong in the AI-enabled world. In addition to protecting our democracy, it's critical that we protect people from unauthorized use of their own images or voices. Kind of the same thing that I was talking about with the deepfakes, but applying it across the board. And I'm not just talking about deepfakes of Hollywood celebrities, although that's real. Your image and voice should be yours to control, whether you're John Legend or John Bessler. John Bessler is the name of my husband, and he, by the way, once taught at GW, so I thought I'd throw it in. But more and more, we're seeing AI used to replicate someone's likeness and voices in ads, images, songs, and videos without consent or compensation. That's why Senators Kuhn, Blackburn, and Tillis and I are working to protect people from having their voices and appearances cloned by AI without their permission, while still respecting First Amendment rights. It's also critical that we protect the people who produce content and ensure their work isn't stolen or used without compensation. For example, some AI platforms use local news stories without fairly paying journalists and papers, including by using those stories to train AI algorithms. That's why I've introduced the Journalism Competition and Preservation Act to allow local news organizations to negotiate for fair compensation, while online platforms, including generative AI platforms that use their journalism without paying them, that stops. This approach has worked in countries like Australia, and it will work in the U.S. too. The U.S. shouldn't be behind when it comes to protecting intellectual property. Our whole economy, whether it is the voices of famous people or whether it is blueprints at factories or whether it is news content, our whole economy has done well and grown so successful because we protect people's property, because we protect people's rights to ideas and things they come up with. If we stop doing that, it's going to jolt and severely damage our whole economy. This is not just about, however, economic compensation and consent. It's also about protecting people from criminals exploiting the power of AI. As AI becomes more powerful, voice cloning scams are becoming far too common. It only takes 3 seconds of audio to clone a voice, and criminals can pull the sample and backstory from public sources. In my home state of Minnesota, the husband of a member of my staff was recently targeted by a terrifying new phone scam. He received a call from someone who sounded just like his son, who is currently serving in the military overseas. It was a weepy, panicked voice, but it was his son's, or he thought it was, saying, "Mom, Dad, are you there?" saying he was in danger. But it wasn't actually him. Scammers had used AI to clone his voice. Fortunately, the parents knew this wasn't their son and hung up before the scammers could actually extort them for money. There are stories all over the country of targeting of our members of our military, and you know they're going to go after seniors and everyone that they consider vulnerable, either because of the good heart of the people they're calling or because of the confusion it would create for anyone when they think it's the voice of the loved one. This would be horrifying for any family. It isn't an isolated incident. As the technology improves, voice clones will only become more common and more convincing. That's why Senator Collins and I called on the FTC and the FCC to continue their efforts to raise awareness and prevent AI-enabled scams. I'm fighting to make sure these agencies have the resources they need to prevent cybercriminals from abusing this rapidly advancing technology. When we look at how we put laws in place, it doesn't mean curbing AI development. We all understand the importance of innovation. It just means setting up rules of the road. Businesses and organizations of all sizes are making advances every day, whether they're using AI to discover new medical treatments, conserve farmland, or build transportation systems of the future. Government agencies see the potential on the state and federal level of AI to support critical functions like maintaining our cybersecurity or accurately predicting once unpredictable weather patterns. I understand that this technology also has the potential to make people's lives easier. I recently teamed up with Republican Senator John Thune on legislation to increase transparency and accountability for high-risk applications of AI. Now, we're covering non-defense applications. That will be handled in a very different way. But it means ensuring new systems are deployed and certified in a trusted manner, and that regulators have the tools to understand and step in when necessary. This is about making sure businesses and the government and the people understand the technology and its implications. Basically, it first strengthens the accountability for AI by directing the Commerce Department to develop testing and evaluation standards for critical impact AI applications, like critical infrastructure, the electric grid, criminal justice, and biometric identification. For example, if a power grid is using AI to improve efficiency, we need to make sure these systems undergo rigorous security testing. If AI can help to detect fentanyl at ports of entry, we want to make sure there's standards in place. Number two, boosting transparency by requiring developers to outline the purpose of their AI system and creating a path for policy making. That will mean regulations tailored for each section for things like healthcare and education. So it's the NIST, which is a government agency that sets standards, would give their ideas for how you do this to the different agencies that have power over different sectors. So we make sure we're integrating it in our updated rules. Number three, bolstering research, development, and consumer education, including watermarking to identify AI-generated content. Our bill lays the groundwork for responsible AI use, but we still have our work cut out for us. I look forward to working with both the U.S. and global leaders to harness this power through information and transparency. I've done a lot of work in the tech area, and I've worked with Europe on this as well. And just from a United States perspective, I think, unlike what has happened with tech, where we have not even put in place a federal privacy law, we have a patchwork of laws in the state, some of which are very good, some of which are weak, but we should have a strong federal privacy law. We haven't updated our laws when it comes to monopolies and competition, which, by the way, will also be an issue with AI. And Europe has done some good things. We should be doing some things in America, and we don't want to let this opportunity to work on AI, which also may enable us to do some other things with regard to tech, pass us by. I'm in this fight because I really believe this is our moment to ensure that future generations around the world can take advantage of the benefits of AI without sacrificing their personal security or endangering our democracy. The discussion you're having shows us that these challenges truly cross national borders and highlights the importance of close collaboration. I look forward to working with all of you and both sides of the Atlantic and around the world to tackle the challenges posed by AI. Thank you so much for what you're doing, and thank you for taking the time to listen, and I look forward to seeing you in person soon. Thanks.